You're not going to be able to properly diagnose fatty liver disease with just bloods, because 80 to 90% of people with fatty liver disease, it's not showing up on bloods. And we discovered this because we were doing clinical studies. We're like, all these people have perfect blood liver panels. So that's why 100 million Americans with fatty liver disease, probably 90 million don't know they have it.
Is it true that the liver is the filter for your body?
If you think about it as a filter, it's really dealing with everything that you consume within your body. If we have a healthy liver, that will reflect so much in things like our skin. That's why
Today we have Siggi and Cassandra Clavien. All right.
Siggi and Cassandra Clavien are the co-founders of Deliverance and the Liver Clinic. They have spent years studying liver health, liver regeneration, and metabolic stress,
bringing data and practical steps that help people improve liver function.
What are some of the issues that people can have with the liver?
By far the most common is fatty liver disease. And it's estimated that 25 to 30% of the global population has it. In the United States, it's predicted to be 50% by 2040.
How many formulas did you guys make to get where you're at right now?
It took 18 years of R&D. I would say the modern version of Deliverance had about 52 iterations, and that's just in the last 9 years.
What are some of the myths when it comes to detoxing the liver?
you can't just do 30 days, 90 days. People think they just need to detox their liver without really knowing much about it. So
Welcome to another episode of A Healthy Point of View podcast. I'm your host, Sam Tejada, and as usual, we're bringing experts from all over the world to talk about health, wellness, beauty, and mindset. Today's guests, they're coming, they live in multiple places around the world. That's because they're making a global difference with what they have going on. Today, we're going to be talking about your liver, the importance of taking care of your liver, and what's happening in today's world with people's liver. Today, we have Siggi and Cassandra Clavien.
Yes.
All right. Welcome to the podcast. All right. Welcome to A Healthy Point of View podcast, guys. How you doing?
That's really good. Really good.
Is that the best welcome you've received on a podcast?
I don't think I've ever been welcomed by a chicken before, but I like it. Yeah.
Excellent. That was our goal.
Great.
Break the ice a little bit here. So, you guys have Deliverance. I've had the opportunity to go through your scan, utilize your product and everything else. But before we start talking about liver, I want to talk about you guys. I want the listeners and viewers to really understand who's here at A Healthy Point of View. So where I want to start is you guys kind of talk about your upbringing, before you guys even met. So who wants to go ahead and take the first shot?
You want to go first or me to go first?
you go.
I'll go first. I'm half Swiss, half British. Come from my father's a winemaker and a chef, and I come from a long line of winemakers and viticulturists, and vintners are also different because we grow wine and we grow vines, and you take care of them, and you have an innate sense of nurturing, a living being, I think, which is really important for my story and I think how I think. My mother was a nurse, British. And I grew up in Switzerland and UK till I was about kind of between 7 to 10 years old, back and forth. My parents split up. My mother moved to the United States. So then I was raised in the United States mostly since then. So I've got this lovely kind of international outlook, from the American perspective, which is amazing, but mixed with the deep heritage and culture of Europe. And I was destined to be a winemaker, and that's what I was supposed to do. I was going to go to UC Davis to carry on the family business and learn how to take care of your vines. And it's interesting because vines they're like people. They grow and they get sick and they have offspring, and you prune them and you love them and you nurture them and you have to take care of them because sometimes they live 70 years old. And I was in school, and my best friend, who was a year older than me, passed away from a drug interaction. Technically, they called it a drug overdose, but it wasn't too much drugs. It was basically, in a lot of drug overdoses, is what happens is two chemicals interact and they give you a heart attack. So it wasn't excessive or abuse of those drugs. It was just a chemical reaction, which happens to tens of thousands of people every year. So, that was pretty epiphanal experience. So I took all my knowledge of chemistry and of science and of nature and biotechnology, and I transitioned and went into making nutraceuticals to try to prevent overdose or prevent rehab. And just been focused on that. And I started on a journey of Western medicine, which was, what we're seeing now, which, and we live in that world where it's reacting to things.
Right.
And it was based off of amino acids and vitamins and supplements and things like that. And along the way, my godfather was like this Hemingway guy, amazing, who taught me to be a Renaissance man. He died of cirrhosis. So I had to
Mm.
see the ravages of what that can do to you. And that was directly due to alcohol. But my mentor that helped me start my first company and believed in me when I was 20, he passed away from liver cancer. And he was an incredible guy. I mean, he had such good karma that he had actually won one of those raffles you do every year, and he won $1 million. Like it only happens once a year. It's this big charity auction, and he immediately gave it away. Like that kind of guy.
Oh, wow.
So I saw that. So I really decided in 2003 I wanted to dedicate the rest of my life to preventing that from happening. And that was my deliverance. Right? Deliverance means to set you free, or it's used a lot in church, to take you from evil to good.
Right.
And I had these when we lose someone in life, we can either it can hurt us, or we can become depressed, or we can dwell on it, or we can hide it with alcohol or drugs, or you can transmute that and use that into a force of good. And that's what I've done, and basically been on that path. And we are 100% focused and dedicated in my life's work and my wife's life work and family's life work is to preventing liver disease, advancing liver technology, both through diagnostics, medicines, and knowledge, and empowering people to have more knowledge, because that's the easiest thing that everybody can afford to do, which is to just be aware.
Right. Right.
Yeah, so
Amazing.
I love what I do, and it's been a beautiful journey.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Cassandra, how about yourself?
So I'm half Swedish, half Irish. I was born in England, but I was raised on a small island in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea called Mallorca.
Mm.
And I spent many years in a very isolated village, which was, not many people knew about. And I come from an entrepreneurial family, my father being a serial entrepreneur, having done many incredible ventures. And he was always my mentor and my idol. Having brought, funnily enough, now that we're so into health, he actually brought Burger King to Sweden in the
Oh,
late
really?
70s.
Okay.
So he sold that out, and even though he was actually a very healthy guy, and I worked for many years in London. I moved to London when I was 18, and I worked in software sales. I worked in sales for a decade before I met Siggy. And when we met, I think we realized that I was quite tired of living that corporate lifestyle. So we decided to join forces to really bring deliverance to, those who need it. So that's pretty much how we started working together, and a little bit about me.
Amazing. Amazing. So let's dive into it.
Yeah.
The liver. What is the liver and what is it responsible for?
So the liver is very, I think, well titled and looked at and revered in Eastern medicine as the general of the body. And the reason is because the liver controls so many other organs. And it's very, very well known in the East, but in the West, it's not an organ that we think of. It's 25 years behind in funding for a lot of research. Most people don't even know where it is. They're not really sure what it does. They think it has a lot to do with detoxification. And the prevalence and the importance of the liver is so underlooked. So it's so important that we're bringing that out there. So the liver has 500 vital functions. It has thousands of functions that it does.
Oh, wow.
It is the largest solid organ in the body. It is the only organ in the body that fully regenerates. You could have 90% of your liver damaged and it will come back.
Wow.
And it's constantly regenerating, to the point to where, whether you're a 5-year-old little boy or an 85-year-old man, the average age of your liver is only 3 years old. So it's every year it reconstitutes, but so the average age of the cells in it is 3, and the oldest cells will be no more than 10 years old. It's this very vibrant organ that is just constantly regenerating. And the function, so some of the examples, it's the master of your immune system. It's also primarily responsible for your skin and your hair. If you want to have beautiful skin, if you want to have beautiful hair, you have to have a healthy liver.
Right.
We have a lot of estheticians that we work with, and we call it skin from within, is getting the liver really healthy. And in turn, if your liver is out of whack, you'll have bad skin and your hair's more brittle. It is in charge of red blood cells. 70% of the fat that we eat is broken down. So if you ate a Burger King or a fatty meal or what have you, 70% of that fat is broken down by the liver. The liver also controls, manages, and synthesizes all of your hormones. So it's very important for hormonal health, both testosterone in men, but also very much even more so in females, because the female hormone system is much more complex, such as menopause and perimenopause as well. So the liver health is directly in charge of that. If your liver's not in good tick either way, you have higher chances of breast cancer and perimenopausal symptoms and all these other things as well. So, we could go on and on, all the things that the cholesterol, right? So cholesterol is produced, manufactured, broken down, and controlled by your liver.
Mm-hmm.
All the vitamins, proteins, and nutrients we eat. So we eat whether it's a protein shake or a smoothie or a very healthy meal, your small intestines breaks those down, and your stomach breaks it down. Your small intestine pulls those in, right? It's we have a long small intestine because we're omnivore, and those go into the bloodstream, and all those vitamins and nutrients and minerals go to the liver, and the liver controls them and decides when those get released, how they get released. So when I say master organ, it has its own intelligence, and it's controlling the disbursement of those throughout the body. Also, energy. If you get up and walk out the door, you go to the gym and work out, the energy that you're getting from is your liver burning little packets of called glycans.
Mm.
So it's also your powerhouse and your furnace for all the energy that you have.
Wow.
And it's just the function. Every day we're learning more and more things about the liver. It is just this incredible organ. It's so complex that we can't replicate it with technology. If your heart goes out, there's an artificial heart, or we can put you on a machine to keep you alive during surgery. We can do that with lungs and with kidneys, but the liver you can't. So if the liver goes out, it's pretty much over. We don't have it's too complex for technology to even catch up to it.
Right.
And it's master organ. It's the hero, really.
Right. So the liver. What are some of the issues that people can have with the liver? Like, you've heard of liver cirrhosis, you've heard of fatty liver. What are some of the issues that people have?
By far the most common is fatty liver disease. And it's estimated that 25 to 30% of the global population has it. In the United States, it's about 40% now. In India, it's 50%. Most of the Western world, it's high 30s to low 40s%.
And what is it here in the US?
It's 40% now.
Are we
It's
the
predi-
highest?
No, it's actually highest is India. That's because of genetics.
Oh, wow.
The second highest, officially the highest, is Iran, and there's no alcohol there, so we know obviously it's not alcohol. But there's in the U.S. it's 40%. It's predicted to be 50% by 2040, and it's accelerating.
Wow.
So fatty liver disease, if you think about that, it's about 2 billion people on the planet have fatty liver disease, and fatty liver is the foundational cause of type 2 diabetes.
Mm.
So 60 to 70% of type 2 diabetics will have fatty liver disease. I'm also over the huge belief, and I'm getting a lot of cardiologists that I'm working with that are in agreement that we also think that it's probably one of the main prime movers of cardiovascular disease,
Really?
because
Wow.
fatty liver disease is the foundation of metabolic syndrome, and it is the foundational cause of type 2 diabetes. And those are the two primary causes of cardiovascular disease. And we know now that more people will die of cardiovascular disease because of fatty liver than will die of liver disease because of fatty liver. But the cardiologists and the hepatologists aren't talking enough.
Okay.
So you're actually getting somewhat of these, like especially in the UK where we're based, you're getting these little fights between them on who should control the patient, and a fatty liver perspective. So it's liver disease globally is up 400% in the last 50 years.
Wow.
You look at every other disease, like we're pushing them down. We're pushing cancers down, or pushing cardiovascular disease down, pushing those down. Liver
The
disease is
liver
up
stuff is
400%.
going up. Wow.
It looks like an outlier, and it's accelerating. That's to be even more terrifying. But it's not like it's just going up. It's going faster and faster.
Right.
and it's a modern phenomenon. It didn't you didn't really see it in the hepatological world, and it wasn't really even named or categorized or considered a threat prior to the early '80s. In the early '80s, we didn't even know what it was. So it's a new thing, and it's a huge driver of all kinds of chronic illness.
Wow, wow.
Yeah.
Cassandra, question for you. I've heard people say that your kidneys and your liver are the filter of your body. Is it true that the liver is the filter for your body?
So the filter is your largest, well, your liver is your largest internal organ. So your skin is your largest external organ. And it deals with so many vital processes. And yeah, it's if you think about it as a filter, every single day, it's really dealing with everything that you consume within your body. So between if we have a healthy liver, that will reflect so much in things like our skin. That's why, you are what you eat at the end of the day. Everything that goes in your mouth that you consume, your liver processes. It's also the master of your immunity, and also it stores all your vitamins and minerals, etc. So yeah, it's something that really needs to be treated with love and care.
Now
The kidneys are like the backup. So the kidneys are
okay.
back here, kind of. They're cleaning the blood, but the liver's is in charge of them, and really kind of it's the liver's really what it's about, and then the kidneys are more supportive of it in cleaning the blood and water. But it's definitely the liver's the more
Who's removing the kidneys or the liver is removing like toxins?
correct, and managing them, breaking and it's converting them. So everything is convert. Most things get converted in the liver.
Okay.
So like when you drink alcohol, and by the time it gets the liver creates enzymes, and then it converts that into a different molecule. It's part of the detoxification process. And sometimes, like alcohol, for instance, what's the most toxic part is not actually the alcohol. It's basically the waste or the conversion of what that alcohol was broken down. And that's why
Oh,
you
okay.
get the
Hangover.
alcohol dehydrogenate, and that's what hangovers are from. That's what's the really poisonous bit.
It's almost like the carbon monoxide that comes out of the tailpipe,
Exactly.
right?
That's a great example. Yeah.
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 Very interesting. So, Siggy, you said something about how the liver reflects on the skin,
Yeah.
how the skin is, the hair, etc. You know, some people have some things that are called like liver spots, the tinea
Yeah.
versicola, right?
Yeah.
How is that, and how do people get affected by having that on their liver?
Well, so your liver is your biggest internal organ. Your largest overall organ is your skin, and your skin's obviously very complex, and there's many layers of it. But everything happens really from within. So like eczema and a lot of skin conditions, most of it's like an iceberg. Most of it's under the surface,
Right.
and what you're seeing is just the manifestations that pops through on the other side. But all of the antioxidants, oxidative stress, free radicals, blood flow, oxygen, and also secretion of toxins happen through the skin as well. And you can also reverse that by putting things on your skin can come in and give you toxicity too, such as a
Mm.
lot of these chemicals that are in sunblocks and skin creams and deodorants and microplastics and beads and stuff as well. But if your liver is functioning really well, and it's getting all the nutrients and dealing with the free radicals in the skin, your skin will glow and it'll be healthier. It'll breathe more. There'll be more precipitation going up in and out. Um, but if your liver is in trouble, or it's under a lot of stress, or you have a toxic load, it will actually start to manifest out. It will come out through the skin. Right? People that do like certain drugs, like meth, for instance, they get a lot of these huge spots, and that's literally toxins trying to get out of the body.
Wow.
Because one of the biggest and most important ways to get rid of toxins in the body is through your skin. That's why sweating is really important. That's why sauna is very good, and steaming and ways to sweat out. So sweating is incredibly important because that's how you get rid of toxins. We get rid of toxins through sweat. We get rid of toxins through obviously going to the bathroom, but it through the skin is huge. So it's coming toxins. They do come out through the skin, and they manifest in liver spots too. And we have clients. Just the other day, I had somebody that was noticing how a lot of the liver spots had actually gone away. They'd been on Deliverance for a couple months.
And that's
And of course,
typically people see it on the skin. It's especially if they go out in the sun a lot,
yeah,
they kind of see like the discoloration on the
exactly.
skin,
Yeah,
correct?
they're almost like kind of like freckles, but a little more. They're darker, and they're not evenly shaped as well. Yeah.
right.
Yeah, and they're liver spots.
Now,
I
when
mean,
I worked at the fire department, we would have some patients that had serious liver issues, and they would have jaundice.
yeah.
So, can one of you explain exactly what jaundice is?
So jaundice is that's one of the symptoms of serious liver disease as well. So you've got your toxic load, and then the oxidation and blood flow as well. So you start to get in the eyes first. You start to get the yellowing of the eyes.
The yellow, right?
Yeah, and that's actually in Eastern medicine. What a lot of the doctors are looking really your eyes and your tongue. A lot of it because they can see your health. You can see actually a lot through the eye. Really good doctors with scopes and stuff. You actually look and see diabetes through somebody's eye as well,
Wow.
and liver health. But it manifests, and you start to get the yellowing in the eyes, and then you start to get the yellowing of the skin, and then it starts to get more brittle because you're not getting rid of any toxins, and you're getting a complete misload and unbalance of chemicals and nutrients in your body, and that's like a telltale sign. Then they start to get bloating. They lose a lot of other weight, but their stomach gets huge because the liver is basically not being able to do phase three, which is to elimination, and it starts filling up and getting clogged up, and it starts to retain lots and lots of water.
A lot of the edema.
Yeah,
Mm.
And I've actually seen that, transported patients to the hospital where they actually have to actually drain it by
yeah,
actually puncturing it.
yeah,
Wow.
Mm.
yeah. Which that even though the liver doesn't have a lot of nerve endings, so you can't. So you don't feel a lot of liver issues, but it's very painful though if it is penetrated, or like in boxing, it's a really good area. It's an area to hit. That's why I'm really, really hesitant to give a patient a biopsy, because biopsies, the liver will bleed a lot because there's so much blood there, but it's also very painful, and chance of secondary infections high. But yeah, they'll have to drain it because if they don't, it will back up so much that it'll be fatal.
Wow.
Yeah.
What type of external things cause liver issues?
It, um, well, alcohol obviously we know is a big toxin and a big driver of it. Pharmaceuticals is actually one of the bigger ones. The number one cause of liver failure and liver damage, and of acute liver failure is actually paracetamol or Tylenol. Um, and that's because it dissolves liver tissue. You know, taking it in moderate doses because you have a headache isn't a bad thing, but too much of it and taking it too often and mixing it with alcohol is bad. So toxic things to the the body are, and why we're seeing this huge drive, chemicals first and foremost, pesticides, alcohol, drugs, pharmaceuticals, vaccines, um, any heavy metals, microplastics. These are all the things that are really, really driving this explosion of liver disease. High fructose corn syrup. If you look at the correlation between when fatty liver disease kind of took off and exploded, that's the early '80s. We really started seeing it, and the late '70s is when high fructose corn syrup was put into the American diet. That's when a lot of these preservatives and artificial food dyes and heavy use of pesticides, heavy
Right.
metals in fertilizers in the food and GMOs, and that's what's really, really driving this.
Mm.
So, um, you know,
Now you mentioned alcohol. So we all know that alcohol is a known toxin,
yeah,
right? Now, how much alcohol is too much alcohol? Because I think a lot of the listeners and viewers are going to say, well, I want to have my wine. I want to do this. Like, at what point is like, okay, that's going to just be too bad for for your liver drinking that much?
yeah. Well, so there's new studies have come out that said no alcohol is good, and any alcohol is bad for you and not good. There's a lot of older studies that say a glass of wine a day, red wine specifically, is actually good for you and for heart health. There's resveratrol in it. I'm of the camp that I think low alcohol in moderation actually does have a lot of benefits. I mean, lots of things are toxic. Living in a city is toxic. Breathing is. So I think it's about low tox.
Right.
Taking things to extreme and taking things to an extreme and having none. I think in any scenario um, is maybe not the best. But so like let's think about alcohol. So too much of it we know is deadly. It's terrible. It's all kinds of ramifications socially, physically, maritally, and all those as well. But in small amounts, and definitely with family, and especially in a lot of cultures like in Europe, having a glass of wine with your family is a very jovial thing.
Right.
There's positivity to it. Um, Laughter's the best medicine in the world. And I know that if I have a beer or two or a glass of wine with the loved ones or my friends and we laugh a lot, That's very good. Being laughing and being happy and being positive is incredibly good for you. So I'd rather have a glass of wine or two a day and be happy and having fun and bonding than not and being miserable and stressed out and worried about every
Right.
bugaboo.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think and you that's what take a thing like Deliverance, drink water, drink higher quality wine if you can, try to get, biodynamic or organic to eliminate the pesticides in it as well. So I'm of the camp, and I know some people think that's crazy, but I think other people think it's crazy to not have one. So I think if you can have control and you can do it in a fun, responsible way, that's good because stress is one of the worst, most damaging things that you can do to your body.
Wow.
And if getting off of work after a tough day and chilling out and having a glass of wine makes you happy and takes some stress away, go for it.
That's it.
Yeah.
And then have the deliverance to just balance things
And then
out,
have a
right?
Deliverance if you need to, or at the very least, have a big glass of water afterwards.
Right.
Go for a walk, get some movement, eat well, especially if you do the other right things. If you're exercising and you've got good nutrition and you're loving your family and you're with community and all these things that make you healthy. That's what the blue zone areas. A lot of them they drink wine, but it's a combination of things of being healthy. Being healthy is those things. Community is incredibly important. What we're
Right.
eating, who we're hanging out with, positivity.
Yeah.
Because you remember, toxicity, yes, it comes from things we eat and we drink, but it also comes from what we breathe, what we put on our skin, deodorants. There's electronic toxicity, too much EMF, like having your phone in your
Right.
room when you're sleeping, Wi-Fi on when you're sleeping,
Who you hang out
who
with.
you hang
Yeah.
out with.
For real.
I
I
mean,
mean, what you
emotional
consume.
and
Yeah.
spiritual toxicity
Absolutely.
is incredibly damaging
Yeah.
because then it can also cause you, if you're hanging around a lot of negative people, you'll tend to be more negative, and then you'll be spreading more negativity.
Right.
It's like a cancer,
Yeah.
negativity. Yeah,
Yeah, you're not kidding. I
yeah,
mean, that'll have you vibing at a low vibration.
yeah,
So which
exactly.
we don't want that. So, when it comes to liver, Cassandra, I always say, in God we trust, everybody else has to produce data, right? So, what are some of the data points that people can utilize to evaluate the health of their liver?
So we use various different technologies we have in the past. Mostly we played around with blood testing, especially for our studies. We looked at, people taking bloods and looking at things like AST, ALT, cholesterol, and, blood testing is everywhere right now. And people are becoming a little bit obsessive with their labs as such, which sometimes can be a little bit misleading, we've found. So, for example, your liver panel could be normal, and you don't know that you actually do have liver disease. So it won't catch, say, fatty liver until it's quite advanced. It won't show.
Hmm.
So that was something that we found was problematic. Also, giving off, sometimes people have high numbers and they're panicking and stressing and worrying when actually it goes down. So we found that the best technology to assess liver fat and liver stiffness is a technology called FibroScan, which it's shear wave elastography. It's a type of ultrasound, and it's extremely fast. You had a scan yourself, you'll
Right.
know how it is. You just lie down, lift up your shirt, and we just shoot sound waves into the liver very quickly and easily, and uses no radiation at all to tell you the exact state of your liver in terms of fat and stiffness. So that is a technology that we're extremely happy to be working with.
Nice. Do people ever use MRI to evaluate the liver?
Yeah, we use MRI. I mean, we use everything from bloods, FibroScan, and shear wave, as Cassandra said, MRI, CAT scan, biopsy is the last resort.
Mhm.
But to ascertain the liver fat percentage accurately and stiffness, FibroScan is much easier. It's less traumatic. It's less expensive, and find it to be more accurate for liver fat. We use MRIs, but we tend to use them more for confirmation.
Okay.
So if we give somebody we had a couple people at the show this weekend that
Mhm.
they're okay, their stiffness is very high. We had a consultation with one of my doctors, and we said, okay, let's not panic, but let's go get an MRI. Now we want to get a much bigger picture, and you start to stack that data. And we are evidence based and data driven. So now we're going to take that MRI data, we're going to take the questionnaire data, the blood data, the scan data, and we're going to zero in exactly what is the issue. And then more importantly, as people that practice root cause medicine, right? In preventative medicine, what's causing that? So we
Right.
want to identify it, isolate it, fix it, and prevent what's causing it, as opposed to just reacting to it,
Right.
which a lot of what Western medicine is based off of. We're moving out of that paradigm, but is let's just start throwing drugs at it.
Right.
Well, let's see
Right.
what's causing it, right? Let's find where the leak is rather than just trying to patch it. Why is what's happening? And we use that. So MRI is good, and there are, but not all MRIs are the same. I mean, an MRI is only as good as the person or software reading it, to be candid. And there's different levels of technology. And there's one group that we really like, and that there was a little more advanced. So we told the patient, no, let's get this done, and let's make sure that it's programmed specifically for the liver, and then you're going to get a much better picture as well.
Okay.
We've had, we had a scare with a really good friend of mine, recently, who's on his FibroScan was like, this was incredibly worrisome. Sent him to another hospital. We did another scan, verified it. We're like, okay, let's hope it's not cancer, or let's hope it's not cirrhosis. Got some of the best MRI technicians in the UK. They came down, did the MRI, and it was an isolated issue of scarring, and it wasn't cancer, thank God. We didn't need to go up to
Mm.
biopsy. So before anybody panicked or we started throwing people on drugs or throwing the baby out with the bathwater,
Right.
we
Right.
start to bring in more data points and more tech to do that.
Mm.
I mean, I'm a fan. We get an MRI once a year, full body from a preventative perspective.
Right. Yeah, I did
Um,
the Prenuvo, the
Yeah,
full
I did
body
that
yeah,
too.
Prenuvo. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Purdue is, and I know,
Pretty good.
Alexander, it's they're really good, Purdue, because it helps you to look over the horizon,
Right.
and that's why we want people to get scans. When we first started scanning people in scale, we got into diagnostics because we needed to, because 80 to 90% of people with fatty liver disease, it's not showing up on bloods.
Wow.
And we discovered this because we were doing clinical studies. We're like, all these people have perfect blood liver panels. So that's why, of the 100 million Americans with fatty liver disease, probably 90 million don't know they have it
Wow.
because it's not showing up on blood. So you
Because
need a scan.
typically the comprehensive metabolic panel is what's
Yeah,
utilized to evaluate the
yeah,
liver health, right?
yeah.
So you're saying even if you do the comprehensive metabolic panel, that doesn't necessarily let you know if the person has some kind of liver disease.
It could, but it might not. Certain
Right.
liver diseases. So the liver panel, those 9 things that they're really looking at, is going to show a lot of enzymatic reactions. Remember, as Darshan always says when we chat, at the end of the day, it's a lagging indicator. So it's a lagging indicator you're getting with that blood test as well. Plus, the day could have been off. You could have had an infection, right, the day
Mm.
before, and your liver panel's off as well. But if your liver's fatty, it doesn't necessarily, it's not going to be signaling maybe some of those inflammatory or those enzymatic markers like an ALT or GGT or AST. So you really need to look at it. If you've got an intuitive doctor and he has the time, you can say, well, if he's obese, there's a 90% chance he has fatty liver. Okay, his blood sugar level's high. And this is kind of what they do now, is, well, liver panels this, other factors, maybe he's Hispanic or he's South Asian, and then they'll make basically an educated guess.
Okay.
But you're not going to be able to properly diagnose fatty liver disease with just bloods. That's if it was that we would just do bloods, but we had to go to FibroScan and to MRI to be able to do that. So that's really what you need to get the full picture.
Okay.
Yeah,
So does someone's ethnic background have a play into
huge,
potential liver disease?
absolutely, yeah, yeah, and well, most diseases, yeah,
Okay. I know you mentioned about India previously, how
South
they have
Asians, yeah,
South Asians.
yeah.
Anyone else?
Well, Hispanic Americans, people from Latin American culture, like South Florida, the Hispanic community is going to be 2 to 3 times more likely to get fatty liver disease than, let's say, a Caucasian, and
Really?
even more than an Eastern Asian. There's genetic factors to that. There's also lifestyle. There's and the higher chance of obesity and diabetes due to cultural issue, like what they're eating. But there's genetic factors as
All the
well,
fried food.
the fried food, the amount of carbohydrates, but there's also genetic propensities. I mean,
Right.
so Northern Europeans, right? They get strokes quicker. People of African descent get heart disease and quicker. Arab population get diabetes quicker. South Asians have a genetic propensity to get fatty liver quicker. So genetics have a lot to do with every race, every culture. Some have advantages, some have disadvantages. South Asians specifically, they'll get fatty liver much quicker. I mean, we call it skinny fat.
And that's how you
Mm.
noticed in India that since American food restaurants or fast food restaurants have been introduced, it's like a double whammy because they can't actually process that.
Wow.
So that's also what's adding to the high numbers of fatty liver.
Yeah, and that's quantifying. Already you've got a genetic predisposition for fatty liver, and then you throw a bunch of American Western standard food and diet in there, it goes crazy. That's why in the Middle East, like you go to Kuwait and Saudi Arabia, and they don't drink alcohol, but they love fast food. They love their treats. They love their sugar. I mean, if you've ever been to McDonald's in Kuwait, it's like on the beach. It's
Really?
like, yeah, it's like a big family thing. You go with your family, and it's like a huge thing. And so they're taking in all these breads, these sugars, all that as well. And they're not genetically adaptive yet to be able to deal with that. Just like Aborigines or Native Americans and other cultures didn't evolve their liver enzymes enough to break alcohol down.
Mm.
So that's a one or two drinks. They might get really drunk really quick and they go crazy and they develop alcoholism.
Oh, wow.
So that's, that happens because these cultures haven't caught up. When you add 150,000 chemicals into the human diet
Right.
in 100 years, none of us have caught up on that.
Hmm.
That's why you get these explosions of cancer and all these
Yeah,
scenarios.
that's a big thing that there's a lot of talk about the chemicals and the foods and everything else.
That's
Yeah.
really what's driving it.
Yeah. Is there any correlation between visceral fat and fatty liver?
So if you have a higher chance of visceral fat, you will have more liver fat, but not all the time. So as in 90% of obese people have fatty liver disease, but 50% of people with fatty liver disease aren't obese.
Mm.
So if you're obese, you probably do it. But of all the 2 billion people in the world, half aren't obese and have fatty liver.
Right.
So it not necessarily, they call it skinny fat too, especially with
The
South
skinny
Asians.
fat,
Yeah,
right.
they'll be 22, 21 BMI, look great, but they have fatty liver disease. And that's because there's a genetic adaptation. They're storing glycans, fat on their liver in case of times of starvation, and that switch hasn't been turned off as they've evolved. So you put them onto like a Western diet or a normal caloric diet. So it's much higher actually. People in South Asia when they're living in America or in London than it would be in India because they're on such a consistent diet now. And then obviously the Western food. Yeah.
Right. Right. I want to talk about some of the myths that are out there now that we're talking about, obviously liver health and someone who potentially does not have a liver that's optimized at the level that it should be. Um, so is it true or false? Eating liver is good for your liver.
Yeah, true.
That is true.
Yeah.
Why is that?
So some of the most nutrient dense things we can eat, eggs are incredible. All the minerals, there's so many good things in an egg. Grass fed beef, gram per gram is incredible. And liver, because it's such an important organ, because it's so dense, because it's so rich in nutrients and vitamins and proteins that it's storing, it is like a powerhouse of vitality. That's why in nature, if an animal's really well fed, a predator, it will just eat the liver because it gets everything it needs out of the liver.
Oh, wow.
You'll see
Okay.
that, like especially with like mammals and sharks and things like that. But in nature, if they're really well, like predators, raptors will eat like the brain or the liver because that's where all the nutrients are. It doesn't even bother with the meat.
If I eat brain, does it make me smarter?
I don't know, make you smarter. Yeah, yeah. I don't go that far. I do enjoy.
It depends
I do
whose
enjoy
brain I
liver.
eat,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. It depends. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, no, because obviously you see guys like the Liver King out there. The
Yeah.
guy's eating liver straight up raw, and it's like
It's a little weird though.
yeah, a little bit. I would cook mine with a little bit of seasoning too on top of that. So okay, so for good liver health, what are some of the things naturally that we can eat in the kitchen that's going to help us with good liver health?
So obviously, first and foremost, eating clean. First is let's stop the toxicity coming in. So low tox, and one of the easiest ways there is wash your vegetables properly, and
Mm.
your veg, your fruits, because a lot of them have pesticides, insecticides. Get the toxicity out.
How do you
one of the
typically wash them?
Yeah, we have a
Yeah, we make a solution. You don't have to buy any fancy sprays from the store, or you can just use bicarbonate of soda, a little bit of vinegar, apple cider vinegar.
Okay.
I really do like to use good water because if you're washing in chlorinated tap water, it kind of defeats the point a little bit. So, I really think it's worth the investment to have a full house system that
Right.
will give you clean water for your cooking needs as well, especially if you're using the water to cook the food in, because you're preparing the food in that and you're trying to limit the amount of toxins in it or remove them rather than add more. Same with cookware. So it's really about, trying to lessen the toxic load and without making people paranoid or obsessed. It's just think about how many chemicals are gonna interact with your food before you consume it. But
Of
I
course.
think that's pretty much it's very difficult to find that because many people can't afford organic food as well. So if you make sure you wash it well, I think you're really helping yourself out there.
And
Right.
baking
Right.
soda doesn't cost much. It's not expensive to do.
Hmm.
But right, the pans is a good thing. I mean, here's two really interesting sources of toxins that we're getting all the time that we don't think about. One of those chemical fused air fresheners that are in your car,
Hmm.
those are super toxic heavy and
Hold on, the ones
all
that are
those
hanging
filaments.
from
Yeah.
the rearview
Yeah.
mirror,
Those
The
are no bueno.
the
Febrezes.
little tree.
Yeah.
Really?
The trees, and especially those ones with all the little hairs in them, the little
Right.
filters.
Right.
I mean, you're just breathing that chemical in a closed loop
So that's
environment.
bad for your liver.
Yeah, it's bad for your
Oh.
body. Your liver's defending you in that scenario.
Right.
That's
Right.
bad for everything, but your liver's that's where your liver's dealing with that.
Wow.
Um,
I never
and the
knew
other
that.
is like Teflon pans,
Mm.
right? Teflon pans, you know, when you see all those scrapes at the bottom of a pan,
Right.
most of that's probably you've ingested that when you're eating. That's why if you ever do use an enamel a coated pan, never use metal on it. Right? Use silicone or use wood or something. That gets into the food all the time. So these are big sources of toxins that are coming in.
Right.
The things that we don't really think about. We're like, oh, it's a non-stick pan. Yeah, it's convenient and easy to clean,
Yeah.
but you could be scraping that off into your food.
I was wondering why there was extra
Plastic
pepper
cutting
in.
board too.
There's like
Yeah,
extra pepper in my food.
yeah, yeah.
No, I know that one, man. I actually learned that at a young age at the fire department because obviously we live in a very toxic world when you're working
Yeah.
in the fire department. And that was one of them. It's like if you were one of the guys at the firehouse using any kind of metal utensil on those pans,
Yeah.
you would
In
you,
trouble.
you
Big
would get
trouble.
in big trouble. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
you'd hear it. So all right, so cooking ware is definitely something.
Cooking ware is really important. Seed oils, right? That's another thing that's going to bind up your liver as well and cause problems. So clean food, right? If you're gonna have butter, grass-fed butters are totally different than regular butter. So grass-fed
Right.
butter is good. Coconut oil, fatty. Extra virgin coconut oil, good. Extra virgin olive oil, because those first pressings have all the goodness and the enzymes and all the greatness in it, and the antioxidants and the polyphenols. So high quality, first pressing oil, whether it's coconut or avocado or olive oil. Those are good things to do. Grass fed butter, I love.
Yeah.
Getting a good mix, a good nutrient mix as well in veg, things like that. Where you're sourcing your chicken or your beef from, because some of it, might have a lot of hormones in it, which can obviously cause effects and cause stress on the
Yeah.
liver and can be an endocrine disruptor. Those are areas to look at as well. And then good foods we can eat. So eat clean, right? Lots of veg, mix it up, proper amount of salt, proper amount of pepper. So plastic pepper mills, that's another source of microplastics that we're
Mm.
getting in all the time we don't think about.
Wow.
So try to get ceramic or metal. Right? That's where all these microplastics are coming in from areas we don't even.
Right.
I mean, you're breathing them in with those things in the cart, though.
Mm.
Leafy veg, Swiss chard, cabbages. What are some of the veggies that are really, really good for
Yeah,
the liver as
leafy
well?
greens and really like cilantro is really great for removing heavy metals from the body as well. But
Yeah,
I would say, fresh water it's very simple. Like the more, we are living in quite a toxic world wherever we are, but we just want to try and do a little bit better
Right.
with whether that's the air, having an air filter, whether you're drinking better water, limiting buying, plastic bottles with water in it as well. So it is about, too much info can overwhelm many consumers, but it is now there are a lot of like great hacks and tools out there that can really help you.
Right.
And also, using different apps to measure what's in your food. So it's all about very much like, keeping an eye on what you're putting inside your body. I think.
Yeah, I've seen how people put like a cucumber in water and
Yeah.
sometimes like lemon. Do those have a good effect on your health
Yeah.
when it comes to liver?
In the morning, actually, one of the best things you could do for liver health, but overall digestive health, and acids and everything is half a glass of lemon and water in the morning.
Warm water. Yeah.
Warm water that triggers and that kind of kickstarts all of your gallbladder and everything, your digestion the rest of the day. That's one of the great hacks we can all do.
Yeah.
If you can, sometimes later in the day, bicarbonate soda, which is inexpensive, little honey and some water is very good. It's also got all kinds of great protective properties. Apple cider vinegar is really good. A shot of that
Yeah.
in the morning, that's really good as well.
It's good basic liver health
Yeah,
supplements really to support your
yeah,
Yeah.
immune.
yeah. Water and lemon in the morning for your liver is amazing.
Yeah. I've done that and throw a little like cayenne pepper in there
Yeah, yeah.
sometimes.
Mix it
Yeah.
up a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. Now, what about when it comes to supplementation? Obviously,
Mhm.
you guys have developed some products that are very helpful for your liver.
Yeah,
You guys definitely have a background in plant-based medicine.
yeah,
So, when I used to bodybuild back in the day, there was a product you had to order it from India, and it was called Live 52. Are you familiar with
yeah,
it?
yeah,
And it was like a huge thing, this product in the bodybuilding world, because it had all of these different herbs and stuff from India that helped detoxify the liver. How effective it was, I'm not too sure. You guys would probably be able to comment on that. But I want to talk about different supplements that people can look into to have good liver care.
yeah. Um, so there are some really good blends out there. The kind of old school, tried and true that's been used for thousands of years is milk thistle by itself is very good. Um, I used to use it. We don't use it anymore in our product because it's very effective by itself and it's not expensive. It makes you the quality of it's always important. Once again, when you do
Mm.
supplements, the quality of the company making the supplements is integral because the amount of fillers, the quality, how much is actually in there.
How
That's
do
really
how
important.
does someone vet out a company?
What I always like to do is I'll look at the manufacturer, I'll look at the website. How much do they have science behind it? Do they have data? Who's behind it? You kind of use your own intuition to a degree. Does this look like a company that really cares about me? Or is it a company that's really just trying to sell me a product and squeezing every little ounce of profit out of the pill before they sell it to me?
Right.
How many do I need? That's really important. Who it's from, like a
Mhm.
farmer, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Who you buying it from. Uh, Dandelion's very good as a plant herb that we can take. Artichoke's very good, whether you're eating it or some of the artichoke extracts are very positive as well. Our products at another level. 18 years of R&D and science, and we look at everything holistically. Um, that's a hidden source of toxicity too. Is a um, great friend of mine, and she got a big podcast called Longevity. But Natalie Needham and I were getting this discussion, and she really taught me about with magnesium stearate. So magnesium stearate it's used in a lot of supplements and a lot of pills, but sometimes in small doses, it's actually it's good for you, it's beneficial, but it's cumulative though. If too much of it can actually be really toxic.
Mm.
And if you're taking too many supplements a day, you get into called supplement fatigue. But if there's a little bit and you're taking 1 or 2 pills, so be it. But if you're taking 30, 40 different supplements and all those supplements have magnesium stearate in there, that can actually load up on you. You can actually start to get, some damage and be stressing your system out as well. And because it's sometimes listed as a manufacturing process or as an other ingredient, you don't know how much is in there.
Oh wow.
That's a big thing, and they hide a lot of stuff in food and manufacturing like that. There's a big controversy with McDonald's to where they got sued for this next year to change it. And Jamie Oliver's the one that for years and took him to
Good
task on
chef.
this. And what McDonald's was doing is the beef they were buying, a lot of it was older quality and not the best quality, it's really brown. Is they would give it was called an ammonia bath, and they just wash it in ammonia and it turns pink,
Oh
so
wow.
that the meat looked really fresh. But because that's a manufacturing process, it's not an ingredient, so it wasn't listed. And there's a lot of little techniques that they do that can happen, and binders and fillers. That's why with capsules and pills, there could be all kinds of stuff in there you may not know. Um, I used to make pills and a lot of our detox supplements. We only do liquid now because now that I'm knowledge base and education and the expertise surrounding us as well, we stay with liquid because you got more bioenergy and a lot more kind of magic is happening, and you keep the bioavailability and the quality as well. And you've got to look at we actually do soil samples at the farms that I buy my ingredients from because you want to make sure you're not getting heavy metals or pesticides in there
Are you able to
as
see like
well.
how much nutrients is in that soil too?
Yes, you are. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, yeah. That's really important. And what's happening globally is the overuse of fertilizers and the overuse of that's getting a lot of metals and stuff. A lot of the soil's dying in the world, and because we're not doing proper regenerative farming. And in order to keep these farms productive, every year they're using more and more chemicals and
Mm,
more and more chemicals, and that's affecting the food, and that's getting into the veg and the fruit, and then that's getting into us.
right, right.
Yeah, so regenerative farming is important. That's they don't talk enough about that too. We've got a huge problem, and it's getting worse because we're killing the soil. We're not properly rotating, farm crop rotation, GMO seeds. We're not doing a lot of the techniques that our ancestors did or nature
Right.
would do.
Wow. Wow. So you guys have your product, the Deliverance
Yeah.
product, right? Now, how many formulas did you guys make to get where you're at right now?
It's the best success comes from failure, and you learn the most. And not as many no's as Colonel Sanders got, or as many 10,000 failures that Edison got before the light bulb. But it took 18 years of R&D, and I had to completely change my paradigm as somebody that came from a Western medical background. In about 2012, I really got into Eastern medicine, and I love the philosophy there, which is, in a proper Eastern medicine doctor, you would pay him every month, and he would give you your supplements and your herbs and your tinctures to keep you healthy. But if you get sick, he stops charging you, and you don't pay him till you get better. So the whole incentive as a caregiver is to prevent you from getting ill. Whereas in the West, it's turned around. They kind of wait till you're sick, and then they pounce on them, and then everything's expensive, and they're trying to react to it. So I really shifted to preventative medicine. So about 9 years into the formulations and studies, we came across this traditional Korean medicine for hepatitis, which was amazing, which was thousands of years old. And I loved some of the science behind it, had some clinical studies, and then we really started working on that. And how do I make it more bioavailable? How do we bring Western technology into this? How do we work on a molecular level? How do we make things more bioavailable? How do we absorb it? How do we use liposomes? How do we use nanoparticles? How do I pull out the best bits of the plants and leave the bits that aren't necessarily as important? And then how do these interact with each other? Like, how does this plant play with this one? Because
Right.
some of the ingredients we use, most herbalists or Chinese doctors say, well, that doesn't do anything for the liver. And I'm like, well, no, not on its own. But if you mix this molecule and this molecule together, and then you heat it up to this, and then you lower it to this is the effect it's having. And we formulate off of doing studies. So I'll do a formula, we'll do a study, I'll adjust the formula, I'll do another study. So the science and the data comes first, and that's driving the formula. And a lot of formulators and developers, they put together this great formula because it looks good on paper, and then they sell it. Well, it's got all these things in it. I need to know way more than that, because we're affecting change. I'm not just trying to sell a product. Like
Right.
we don't sell a product on Amazon because I don't know who's buying it. Like we are obsessed with patient outcome. How good are we taking care of people? Are we enriching their lives? Are we preventing disease? Are we helping? Are they feeling good? Are they having bad effects? So before we put anything out there, we go through years and years of it. So I would say the modern version of Deliverance had about 52 iterations, and that's just in the last 9 years. The 9 years before that, you're constantly doing, and no, I can't take the credit for creating it on my own, because no one doctor or scientist could have created this, because it took so many different specialties and modalities and ways of thinking to do that. And some of these, like, I worked with an endocrinologist in London who couldn't stand the molecular biologist that I worked with in Australia, and they thought like this, but I didn't need them to. And I would work, and let's figure out how we get in the cell membrane from my guy that knows hydration really well, as a professor in Australia. And then how do I work? Okay, endocrinology. What are we looking at here? What are the glycemic indexes of this honey versus this one?
Right.
And how can it be safe for my cancer patients? How can it be safe for my type 2 diabetics? Then I will look at a hepatologist, and the hepatologists are like in tunnel vision for the liver. They're just looking so deep at the liver, and the liver, as we talked about, controls all these other organs. So you need to look at everything, right? What are we doing to oxygen the blood? How's it affecting the spleen? Like the muscle relationship too, between the interdirectional relationship between muscle health and liver health is paramount.
Mm,
So we look at it. That's how we formulate. We kind of step back and bringing all these different experts in consciousness to develop. And that's why the formula took so long to do. But in turn, the proof's in the pudding. That's why it's so effective. And we hang our hat on not only the science and the data, but most importantly, the results. So in an ideal scenario, if we can get them to, is we want the customer or patient to get their bloods done under a scan or an MRI, take Deliverance, and then as soon as 90 days again, we'll test you again. So you're going to, if you're left brain and you want to see data, you're going to see the evidence.
Right.
You're going to see what it's doing to my blood panels, my metabolic outcome, what's happening over here with my lipids. And then right brain, or which to a lot of people more important, how are you feeling?
Right.
How's your skin? How's your hair? You happy? You're getting more sleep, less brain fog. So we're looking at it from all angles to do that. So it's and we're constantly evolving. I mean, we're always innovating. I'm already trying to look over the horizon at the next things that we're doing and how do we help people. And if God forbid, if somebody was getting a rash or itch or didn't like it, or why is that happening? Or like we had one scenario. I mean, because everything's so natural and super high quality, our efficacy rate's super high. The adverse reactions is incredibly low. We had a gentleman that was on a clinical trial and he kept getting really bloated after he took Deliverance. So that's pretty weird. Never heard that before. And it turned out he was taking this probiotic yogurt, and just taking Deliverance at the same time as the probiotic yogurt was making him farty and gassy and bloaty. So I just said, we'll take it at a different time of the day. And he loves it. He's been on the product for 2 years. So you do get some, but generally, the closer you stay to nature, the less problems you have with anything.
Right. What's in the formula?
So there's 17 active ingredients. A lot of it's based off traditional Korean, Chinese medicine, Ayurvedic. One of the key ingredients in it is this thing called cyanol, and that's our trade name for it. It's sea-based polyphenols, and it is this one type of sea kelp that grows in one place in the world, which is in Jeju Island in South Korea. And they've eaten this sea kelp for 1,000 years because it gives you like cognitive effect. It's been made as a tea. But also I found fascinating that I saw from a different angle was they're these like 100-foot kelp forests. And the fish that live in these kelp forests are some of the most prized, expensive fish in all of Korea.
Wow.
And it's because they're eating this super antioxidant rich sea kelp.
Mm.
And so I'm like, that's another hint as well. So my partner over in South Korea, Dr. Lee, spent about 22 million euros, 15 million pounds, and over 10 years isolating the molecule that exists in that sea kelp. And through a process, we take 1,000 kilos of this kelp, and it's great because it regenerates all the time. So it's actually net carbon, right? Where it's sequestering more carbon than it's taking off. So our carbon count's probably really good. So we harvest 1,000 kilos of it, which is like bigger than this room. We break that down and basically refine that to get 1 kilo, which is about that big. And then it's a 4-part distillation process. And at the end, we get 1 gram.
Wow.
So that's a 1 part per millionth extraction. But the antioxidant capacity of that molecule is off the charts. It's 150 times stronger than a land-based antioxidant.
Really?
You'd have to eat like 1,000 blueberries to get the same ORAC score.
Wow.
Super high antioxidant. And it also increases neurotransmission. So when you drink Deliverance, you're getting the mental clarity in minutes. And that's because we also nano-encapsulate it as well. So it's going right into the blood-brain barrier, and you're thinking faster and clearer. And we think antioxidant capacity is actually affecting the mitochondria.
Okay.
So that's like one ingredient, right? And then we've got certain ones that are affecting like the spleen. Some are helping with kidney function. Some are oxidation in the blood. Several of them are known for its properties with alcohol. Some are antifungal. Some are antiviral. Some help with parasitic. So the cool thing about Chinese medicine is we've got 5,000 years of kapia, or of written knowledge. So there's just this awesome database to go to and to find what's, what works and don't work. So it's, I'll give you this great booklet we did. And I love plant medicine and plants. So there's a really beautiful illustration of each plant. And then I put the molecule for the science people like myself to see what the molecular structure looks like.
Okay.
The Chinese medicine name, the Latin name, and then a full description of each ingredient. That's on the website too, but if you want to geek out and really look into it, it's really
pretty cool.
interesting. And and how they work in like kudzu's one, which is really cool. And kudzu is it's a vine with these beautiful purple flowers, but it's fantastic medicinal properties. But like in the south of the United States, it's like this pest. It's like an invasive vine that got here because it was pretty, and it keeps like clogging up like forests and
Oh,
canals and
wow.
stuff. So it's looked as like a weed or a nuisance, but it's actually got all these amazing
Health benefits.
properties. Yeah,
Wow. Wow.
yeah.
Amazing. What Cassandra, what is most one of the greatest testimonials that you've seen of someone who had some kind of liver issue where you guys have been able to really give them their life back?
Wow, there are quite a few. So
Good question.
it's a very good question, and it's hard to pick just one, but there's always a few that stand out. And the great thing that you're so lucky at like the conferences like eudaimonia that just happened this weekend, because we have so many people coming back to us who perhaps had a scan last year and they did what we suggested and they were disciplined and they took their deliverance, and perhaps they weren't able to get a scan until a whole 12 months, but they come back and say, wow, like you've completely changed my numbers, and my numbers were dangerously high. So
Wow.
like I would say probably John Spence, one of Siggy's friends, close friends, who's been a big supporter of us for many, many years. And has taken the product, but people, you stop taking products after a while, you kind of forget to reorder, and maybe you're traveling and you haven't stocked up and you've gone somewhere else. So we've seen that with when you stop taking it and you perhaps your life gets back in the way, your numbers can creep up again.
Right.
So I would say probably the best is, when somebody's had high liver fat, and then we see them at another show in person and they're so happy with their scores that often it's a very emotional moment.
Wow.
Maybe people come up and hugged us at the shows or the booth, or
Really?
we had. Remember that there was a guy we were at biohacking conference this
Something.
summer, and this really great just ball of energy, really cool guy ran up to us. He was already excited. He goes, Siggy, I want to tell you the story. I met you at the Don't Die event about 3 months ago, and I got a FibroScan, and I had fatty liver. And I went to my doctor in Miami, and they confirmed it. And I've been on Deliverance for 3 months. And I went back, and you guys gave me another scan, and I showed him the score, and she said, no, there's no way that's true. And so he said, no, but they use FibroScan as a victim. She goes, yeah, I don't believe it. So she made me go and get a MRI, and I had to pay for it. Like, how much you pay? He said, I had to pay $1,200 out of pocket. I said, what did the MRI say? Fatty liver disease is gone. He's like, I'm like, you should go back to her and she should pay the bill
Right.
because we're using a gold standard machine as well. There's one story, I think, with the little boy was pretty,
Yeah.
that was pretty incredible. I'll let you hear the audio afterwards. We got this call from a doctor we worked with in Germany, the University of Cologne. And she said, Siggy, I have this, we didn't know this until after. She said, I had this boy that was on the liver transplant list to be working with, 9 years old, and he was set to give a liver transplant, and we were waiting. And she said, you know what? Instead of while we were waiting and we were really worried, is we put him onto a routine of really good food and dancing and laughing, and we put him onto Deliverance, and we just tested him again at 90 days, and his liver function has gone up to the point to where they've aborted the liver transplant. He's off the list, and he's going home. And I cried when I heard that, actually.
Wow.
And I just checked in on her. She's a professor, actually, amazing lady. And that was 3 years ago. She says he's totally fine now, hasn't had a liver issue since then. So we get a lot of just heartwarming stories. That was the most incredible because it was a little boy, and we
Mm.
don't actually we're not allowed to tell people under the age of 12 to use the product.
Right.
But she's a professor, she had done that. But we've had a lot of family members, interesting, where
Mm.
maybe the mother had fatty liver disease or the father did, and then we cured it, and then their children maybe have acne, and so sometimes the kids are taking it for acne or for the focus. The parents are taking it to manage that as well. Um, we do a lot with cancer patients. That's a big area for us. It's a pro
Yes.
bono area.
Right.
It's a
Right.
very passionate area for us.
Post cancer, yeah.
Post cancer, not post cancer, post chemo and pre chemo.
Right.
So
Right.
somebody has undergoing chemotherapy, right, which is ravishing to the body. 50% of people undergoing chemo have to withdraw because the toxicity is too high,
Wow.
right? They get too sick and they have to draw to kill them. That's why they're losing hair and just really ill, and that too. So we've always made it a point to anybody going through that, we'll
Yeah.
treat for free. And what we do is if it's active chemo, we'll put them we'll talk to the oncologist, we'll talk to one of our doctors, we'll put them onto Deliverance to build up their immune system, build up their liver, so that when they do go through their therapy, they're going to be much better defended, much more prepared,
Right.
and suffer less of the ravishes. And then post treatment, we come in to help rebuild them and to get their immune system out, and that philosophy of chemo in, chemo out.
Right.
And we're just in the process right now. We've been going back and forth. We're just going through the committees and paperwork in a partnership with City of Hope, which is a really amazing cancer hospital in LA.
Mm.
And they're now, I think they bought Cancer Centers of America or vice versa. So it's Cancer Centers of America and City of Hope. And we're going to be doing a joint study together on using Deliverance as a positive to mitigate the effects of a treatment that some people really need
That's pretty
as
cool.
well. So that's I think that's a really good area that we can help.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
And that story with the kid, man, that's a powerful story.
Yeah,
Mm.
I'll send you the audio clip when she called me.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? If you send it, if you don't mind, I would love for the viewers and listeners to listen to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
So that's those are the stories that I love. You know, those are
Yeah.
the very heroic stories of why we do what we do.
Yeah.
Is that's a tremendous change
Yeah.
that you made in that person's life. So, you know, when it comes to the detoxing world, there's a lot of nonsense that's out there. What are some of the myths that you guys have seen when it comes to detoxing the liver?
There's a lot of extreme flushes and programs, and you can't just do, like, 30 days, 90 days, just to people think they just need to detox their liver without really knowing much about it. So we're not big fans of extreme. Um, it's really just to be conscious and pay attention to what you're putting in. And, if your liver's been under some stress, or, you've indulged a bit over the holidays, or what, of course you just, there's nothing better than you can do is just giving it a break, fresh water, and Deliverance is really beneficial for that purpose as well. That's why we often get asked, how many do I need? Like, how many do I need if my liver is already healthy? We're like, well, we want you to prevent yourself from getting liver disease as well. So
Right.
it's really beneficial to take it daily. But of course, if you know your liver's already in good shape, take it as needed. It's often taken just for the mental clarity. So that every single dose that you take is really benefiting your liver, but also, it's really nourishing all the rest of your internal organs and giving you more mental clarity as well.
Right.
Do you think?
Yeah, no, that's 100% true. So start there. That's where you start to. And a lot of these detox programs, they're trying to
Yeah.
sell you something too. A detox program, I think, is very vital
Mhm.
my business for 20 years has been creating detoxification programs for rehab clinics and for, to help with addiction and things like that. In that scenario, we need to potentially intervene, but nothing detoxifies better than the body. So the liver and the kidneys and your skin and your body's ability to detoxify is so amazing. We just need to support that, give that everything it needs. But some of these programs are out there is like this 10-day program or this diet or this, etc. And what some of these are is that they'll put a lot more supplements together, a lot more pills or ingredients. And what that's doing is that's kind of an active or a yin version of trying to push your body detoxification. I don't actually believe in that anymore. I think you need to let the body detoxify when it wants to and support it to do that. And some of these programs can put you into detoxification. And, if you dump too many toxins into the body at once, you could get sick, you could lower your immune system.
Right.
God forbid if you've got cancer. So there is a risk to some of those programs. Another one that's a lot that people don't look at properly is if you go into detoxification, your body does, right? That you'll have breakouts too, because toxins will start coming out of the skin as well. You'll see that with detox programs. It's very caloric intensive because your liver's working really, really, really hard.
Mm.
So pushing your liver into an induced detoxification without proper nutrients,
Binders.
dietary plan, binders can actually be damaging. And if you're not getting enough calories, it's like so weightlifting, right? Or like
Right.
running a car. You go work out really, really hard. if you don't have the right nutrients, you're going to cause damage,
Right.
right? And you could cause damage to your liver by going on an intense detoxification program if you're not getting the right calories and nutrients in as well. So those are some of the
I
programs.
think sweating is still the best form. If you can
Yeah.
sweat and support your body within electrolytes and, maybe a binder, that's a really great way and an expensive way to detox.
Get in that
Yeah.
infrared sauna, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And infrared's great because you're getting the light, you're getting obviously the light aspect of it, plus the
Right.
sweat as well. I think that when you do that, when you do work out and if you sweat a lot, you need to not take those clothes off.
Right.
Because if you wear those
It's
clothes,
gonna absorb
it goes back in.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a big thing to do. Also, we're moving a lot more towards high frequency, and Cassie's really been a big driver on this, high frequency fabrics and stuff as well, because especially like in the with the armpits and the groinal area, a lot of these chemical or man-made chemical synthetic shorts and pants and underwear, that's actually could be as a source of toxicity as well. So we're moving to more like linens and bamboos and cottons. Personally, for our children, even our staff, all the shirts we had this weekend, we're all going to linen right now because we need a higher vibration fabric as well. So
Wow. I like that.
yeah, it's important.
Siggy, there's a lot of talks for many years on CBD,
Mm.
right? And CBD has a lot of different benefits. There's a lot of research behind CBD. So I want to talk about what do you know about CBD being effective for anything related to the liver?
So I've worked in the cannabis industry before it really even was an industry. So I've been involved with uh, detoxification and cannabis for about 28 years. And really interesting is we used to look at cannabis metabolites in the fat in the bloodstream as a toxin. And it's interesting because if you do most, I'm a little off piece here, but I'm going to come back to it. So most drugs like methamphetamine or cocaine or heroin, all those, they're out of your system in 72 hours because it's so bad. Your body's like, get this out,
Right.
right? And cannabis stays in your system for like 30 to 60 days. So everybody in the health and medical world always looked at, because it was a toxin, it was just a toxin that binded with your fat cells and it gets it stuck in your fat and it was really bad for you. And I was at a cannabis, and this is somebody, and I actually invented detoxification programs to help get THC out of your fat cells. And I was at a talk about, it must have been 10, 12 years ago, and we were going out of the endocannabinoid system, which is something we're really learning much more and more about in the last 20 years. And I had this epiphany. I realized actually the reason that the body is holding on to the CBD and the THC metabolites in the fat is because it's so good for you
Mm,
that your body's storing it in the fat to burn later like it would a vitamin or a nutrient.
right.
So I was like, oh my God, my whole, career and all these things we've been thinking, this whole industry was looking at CBD as a toxin. Actually, no, it's the opposite. It's like incredibly good for you.
Wow.
So the properties of and that, that's, I had to admit that, I was looking at it completely the wrong way, but that's how I've been taught that. But the CBD, and especially, when you've got both sides of it, it's like two really bits with the THC side and the CBD. When you get them all fitting together, and if they're really well sourced, it is incredibly good from an antioxidant perspective. It is incredibly good from an anti-inflammatory perspective. Very good for pain, for glaucoma, the health benefits. It is actually one of those miracle plants that God gave us. Avocado's one, aloe vera's one, the cannabis plant. The uses of a cannabis plant are incredible. Like everything from the cleanest burning oil to the strongest natural fiber,
Right.
and the medicinal qualities
It's
are.
just about quality at the end
It's
of the
about
day.
quality, and they're
Yeah.
fantastic. And a lot of, especially with cancer patients as well, which I'm very passionate about. A lot of them, the worst damage you get is you can't get is sleep, and lack of sleep is the most damaging thing for your health, and definitely if you're sick. And a lot of them also, because they're on heavy cancer medications, they're not eating as well. They're not getting any sleep, and they're not getting any nutrients, and they're not getting the proper diet, so they're i- aspirating it. And I was always been a big fan of some of the CBD oils that you would use in the mixes, and like the Rick Simpson method, and those as well, because those can be taken orally.
Hmm.
Because if they're sick, you don't really want them smoking it. right? And they're not doing it to get high so much as maybe for cessation of pain, right? So they're trying to get rid of pain. They're trying to get an appetite and they need to sleep, right?
Right.
Nobody should deny them that.
Yeah.
And one of the best ways to give that to somebody is through cannabinoids. You know, the patient starts sleeping, they're getting better, they
Right.
got better defense, they're able to eat, they're keeping food down, and they're not suffering with pain. So I'm a
Right.
huge fan of that from a medicinal perspective. Um, I think too much recreationally can cause idleness, but we're talking about medicine here. So from a medical perspective and somebody that truly cares about healing, I think the properties of it and the more we're learning about it are very, very effective. I don't know that much about it's now there's intravenous forms of it, which I think is super exciting because by doing that, you're getting a 100% bioavailability by doing it as well. So I'm excited to see as that side of it's expanding. But once again, if you've got and it's weird in the US, you can't get a lot of those oils. You can get you can get gummies and candies and a
Right.
whole menage of different types of cannabis products, but they're not it's funny how the drug companies have kept out the really effective medicinal side, which would be the oils that people can put under the tongue to get right into the bloodstream.
Right. Right.
So if you really want to get the best properties out of it, if it's really high grade and it can be given through an infusion, then you're going to get the full bioavailability. You're not going to have any of the risks of smoking it, and you're really going to let it get in there and do its thing. I think that's how you could take somebody that's can't eat properly, isn't sleeping, and you get it into their body and start to have the effect. And there's incredible anti-cancer properties with cannabinoids and
Right.
somebody. And I've espoused that for 20 years. So I'm a
Wow.
huge that is well known. And it's been incredibly fought and kept into a box. But I think from a medicinal side, I think it's a gift from God to the aspects that it can do for medicine for people that are sick and suffering.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So what's the next big thing for you guys?
Well, Cassandra and I, we have 5 kids together. We have 2 together. I have 3 from
Three grown ones.
3 grown ones.
All right.
One of which works for us.
Awesome.
So we travel. We're incredibly busy. We love our children so immensely that we take them everywhere with us.
They're
Oh, nice.
downstairs.
Yeah, so they're downstairs right now. They're homeschooled. They're tutored. They're incredibly precocious and educated and knowledgeable and incredibly healthy. So us as a family,
We travel and
we
we
travel everywhere, going to
speak.
conferences and speaking and seeing clinics and taking care of patients and doing studies and all that. So we're gonna chill right now because we've been on the road. We've been in Australia and Singapore and Bali and Greece and
And they go with you
we're
guys everywhere.
everywhere. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
They do, but
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to, you really realize when you get a different sense of perspective how great America really is. I mean, there are some great countries and, you can explore the world, but we really have it so great here. And it's such a, clean and safe environment for the
Right.
children. So we're really looking forward to just resting, looking, after ourselves through the holidays. It's hard to keep up your biohacking on the go. We do that. You should see our luggage. It's it's
Well, it's
something
just
else
supplements.
with trying to bring the gadgets and the sups, and we do the best I can. But you know what? As long as you get some fresh air, sunlight, keep up with the exercise, and with the children as well. People say, "How do you manage it?" I'm like, "Well, they mirror your vibration."
Right.
So I try and keep the same rhythm wherever we go, and yeah, we I think we're just going to rest and recover now, and
Yeah.
and then next year we'll probably do a few more tours around the US. I think
Definitely.
Yeah,
that's
it's good holidays coming up. My favorite holiday is Thanksgiving, the Day of Gratitude. So
There
that's
you go.
coming up. So
Nice.
we have a lot of biohackers coming to our
we got a lot of
place.
biohackers coming up. Yeah, a lot of family, but and laughter. We're very funny. Be silly with our kids and family and our patients. That is a lot. That really
You're gonna have a
you've
good
been by our
sense of
boost.
humor.
Our
Oh
whole
yeah,
team is
yeah,
all
yeah.
massively positive and stuff. So
Good
we're gonna
energy. Good
you know,
energy for sure.
yeah. But I think right now, especially because we were very blessed to have had some great involvement in Maha and what's happening with Bobby's doing and Oz and the group in the U.S. is it's also an incredibly unique time. It's the only time in the history of the United States. United States is adopted to me and to my wife. My wife's getting her citizenship soon. She got a green card. Um, It's the only time in the history of the United States that the president has had the ear of the wellness industry
Right.
and not being dictated to by the pharmaceutical industry. And this is a narrow window of time. And, at worst, we got 2 years left, maybe more, but we're transforming the health of this country at lightning speed. So we're not actually going to go back to Europe, which we live usually half the year next year. We're going to knuckle down here and try to help support Maha, support the country, do as much as we can with some really cool initiatives and keep up the momentum and help push it and spread the word. And it's very important to us. And also now Maha is starting to spread to Europe.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Yeah, we're
it's
starting to see
yeah.
Dr. Malone, who's one of my heroes, who I
Nice.
actually got to meet in person at the Bobby's Maha Ball at the inauguration. Sat next to him at the dinner, and I gave him a hug. And
Nice.
he was addressing EU Parliament.
Wow.
Oh, it is.
And
It's
one of
ripple
the
effect.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, think of it, one of the greatest immunologists and doctors that created vaccines that tried to warn everybody about the last scenario, and they tried to run out of business and destroy him. And now he's now a voice of reason and medicine and taking back control of health. And I think it's so transformative what's
Yeah.
happening. Some of the initiatives we're looking at working with Maha, and a lot of what Dr. Phil wants to do is obviously a big influence and a big help and a big proponent of what we're doing and you're doing and so many people are doing is starting with the children.
Right.
Is what we can start doing in the schools. And so after we had that, I was with Del Bigtree and Dr. Phil and my lovely wife, and there's like 30 of us doing a fireside early this year. And they said, what are the fatty liver statistics on kids? I said, I'll go find out. And I came back and children between 12 and 18 years old is 17% of fatty liver disease.
Oh, wow.
Children under the age of 12 is like 10%.
Still
Yeah.
too much.
10% of that's
That
craziness.
has to change.
Yeah. And so, we live in a country, amazing country, that spend more money on children's health than anywhere in the world. But 50% of our children are chronically ill,
Right.
and that is
Liver
that
health
is
is a big
evil
part of
and
it.
unacceptable.
Mhm.
And I think one of the things we can help doing, I think with this, the scanning in the schools, I think is a good thing, because when somebody gets a FibroScan, you show them, here's your liver, and do you have fatty liver disease, you make a connection with your liver, and you've now built a relationship with an organ. And going and giving a bunch of kids blood tests probably isn't doesn't sound appealing, and most parents won't like it, and it's not nice.
Right.
Giving a non-invasive, super soft and squishy scan in 10 minutes and showing them, and then tying that in with the food programs that we need to change in the schools, and getting the artificial dyes and all the
You can
crap
do a
out of
lot
the
with diet.
kids
Yeah.
and change the diet, we can prevent them from getting sick when they're teenagers and adults, because they're getting sicker younger.
Right.
So a lot of the initiatives that we're going to work and help and support, and that's all pro bono stuff, I think. That's exciting for us. I think from a technological perspective, we've had something we've been working on a couple years, and we're really getting into and start some studies. We might actually do one of them at University of Miami. Is cirrhosis right now is they tell you it's irreversible. We're very confident, and I've got some top stem cell doctors on this working with us as well, that we think we can actually use. So imagine a needle the size of a hair filament
Mm.
put into a liver where it's fibrotic, with programmed stem cells to open up that dead tissue and open that liver back up. And I think through stem cells, because remember, 50% of the people on the liver transplant list die before they get the transplant because they can't make it that long.
Wow.
Our goal is to try to at least keep them alive longer so they get to the transplant with deliverance and diet and protocols. But I think with some of the stem cell technology, we might be actually reverse cirrhosis. Then you don't need the transplant. So that's super exciting from an innovative
Yeah.
perspective.
I bet.
But at the end of the day, the more knowledge we can do, the less people have liver problems. I just told these hepatologists, I
It's
said,
about education.
what we're trying to do, you'll have less patients, and then everybody wins.
Right.
Yeah.
So, guys, we're gonna have a little fun really quick.
Yeah.
So, one of my favorite podcasters, Stephen Bartlett, with the Diary of a CEO,
Oh, amazing.
he came out
Yeah.
with these conversation cards. So, I'm gonna have you grab that. You'll open it. Each of you guys will grab one card out of there, and then once you grab it, you'll read it and answer it.
You go first, baby.
Ready when you are.
You doing one or just us?
No, just you guys.
Okay.
Is it ever appropriate to hurt someone's feelings? Richard Hammond. And that's a question.
Am I supposed to answer it?
No, you answer it.
Oh,
Oh, I'll answer it.
Yeah.
Okay, got ya. No, generally, it is not ever appropriate to hurt someone's feelings, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Would you answer it the same way?
At first you would say, oh, well, because it's funny, ego kind of kicks in. Well, sometimes people deserve it, or they need to put their place, or that. But at the end of the day, if I did do that, I'd feel bad later because it's we're trying to espouse positivity and not to do negativity. But it's funny how the ego at first is like, maybe they deserve it, but no, there's no reason to.
No,
right.
if you've ever seen a kid
Because you hurt
say,
yourself more, really.
yeah, if you've ever seen a kid say, it hurt my feelings, you'll
Oh.
never, you
Yeah.
could never consider hurting someone's feelings again.
No, yeah, I'd say no. Is that Richard? Is that the Richard Hammond from
From
Top Gear?
Gear.
Oh, it's so funny.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Right.
What do you think?
Me personally, I'm not the best guy to ask that question. Yeah.
Okay. The chicken says nay.
I try not to hurt someone's feelings, but
Yeah.
sometimes you
Yeah.
got to be honest and truthful with someone, right?
Yeah.
And if it's gonna hurt your feelings, I'm sorry, but I think honesty is the best policy.
That's a good
Yeah.
point, actually, because some people can take things personally and you have no intention of hurting their feelings. I think
That's just a
probably
good way to look
what
at it, yeah.
differentiates it is if you intentionally want to hurt someone's feelings.
Well,
So that is wrong.
That's how
but
I
if-
read it. Was would I intentionally do
yeah.
it?
So one thing that I do is I always get permission. So I'll ask somebody else, hey Carlos, do I have your permission to be very direct and firm with you right now? Once they tell me yes, I got permission. So
There you
I'm going all
go.
in.
That's a good way to
That's
do
a
it.
really good
Yeah, no,
point.
'cause yeah, but you need to be honest with people. Sometimes people need to hear it even though they don't want to like it. But
Yeah.
if you look at it, the way that I question was like to say it to somebody, like
Yeah.
even if they're an evil person, is an evil person when I say it just to hurt their feelings?
There's
No, but if
different
they were a bad person and I said, well, I'll tell them the truth for sure. Yeah, because
Yeah.
you do need to do a little tough love or a truth slap with a fish sometimes. Maybe.
Sometimes.
Or if
right.
you've got a
Yeah.
sarcastic British humor, you can be teasing with it, which,
Yeah,
sometimes
Yeah.
can be meant with no malice, but
yeah.
could
Yeah.
end up hurting
It
people
still hurts
the wrong
somebody's
way.
feelings.
That's
So Siggy, what do you got?
So I get so. When do you feel the most emotionally connected to yourself? Tony
Mm.
Hawk. When do I most emotionally feel connected to myself? I think probably with my children. When you're with your children, especially you kind of being silly and you this and you reflect and you see things in them and you and you're having a happy time and laughing with them. Probably when you pray. I think praying sometimes is very emotionally connected when you're grounded and it's just you and God and you're thinking. That's like a very special practicing gratitude, I think also, because I practice a lot of gratitude. I think that's important because you reflect on it. Emotionally connected, yeah. It's interesting because as being a tough guy, most of your life you try to get more centered when you're older because going from you want to be ideally balanced between masculine and feminine, and to do that, and then I think you become a stronger man when you're more connected to your feelings and you address emotional issues and you open yourself up, and that's why having a fantastic wife like you do and I do, and it really gives you that balance. There's a great I think it was a Cherokee saying that said, a woman's highest calling is to show a man to source and to God, and to keep him, show him emotionally balanced in that side of life. And a man's greatest responsibility is to protect a woman to allow her to do that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing.
So with my partner, yeah, with my my true love and my children, yeah.
Nice. Guys, so as we start wrapping up here, if there is one person that's listening or viewing this podcast, what is one thing that each of you can leave them off with?
Go first.
You go.
I'll go first. I always like to thank people for listening and giving us, all of us right now, the most precious thing we have in this life, which is time. And it's the one thing we have the least of,
Right.
and it's one thing we need to use properly, to enjoy and appreciate. And that the one thing that we can all do for our health and well-being, it's instant, doesn't cost you any money, uh, and it is just be conscious. Being conscious or being present right here and now, what we're eating, what we're drinking, what we're saying, how we're acting, how we're emotionally affecting other people, and vice versa. Just being conscious. That's the best thing you can do for your health. Everybody can do, and everybody can do it immediately. Just be conscious.
Be conscious.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just also like to point out that, often people listen and they feel that there's a loved one, or perhaps they personally are suffering from something, and they're just not sure how we could help, but they can always reach out. All of our team are dedicated nutritionists and specialists. You'll never get a bot or an AI chat or any of that when you contact us. Our customer support team are amazing. And if it's a more complex question, it gets kicked up to all our nutritionists, dietitians, and when needed, our MDs. So I would say just email us, info@loveyourliver.com, if you have a question. If you don't know where to get a scan, we're working on getting as many locations as possible up and running. But you can also Google FibroScan to see if you can just get one, like a referral from your gastroenterologist, which is sometimes tricky depending on insurance. And that's really what we're trying to change, to make it really accessible. But we don't want price to get in the way of helping people. So I'd encourage people to reach out. You can DM us on Instagram. And we're going to be setting up a code as well that will help with like a discount code. So whatever you want that to be, Sam will announce that, and people
Amazing.
can use that code.
Awesome. Guys, it was a pleasure to have you
Yeah.
guys on a Healthy Point of View podcast. Thank you for sharing all of the information and allowing people to take true control of their health.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you very much.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Guys, you heard it from both of them. It's extremely important. Number one, live in the presence, be conscious, right? Lifestyle is extremely important when it comes to taking care of your health, especially your liver health. So you might know someone, or it might be you, who could have fatty liver. You got to take that first step, that proactive approach, and do something about it. Guys, make sure you take this podcast, share it to all of your friends, to your family. It might be that one person who gets it that you can change the trajectory of their health. Make sure you like, subscribe, and do all that other fun stuff, and we'll see you for the next one.